Georgia Tech at guard, a 6'2 freshman from Rego Park, New York, number 12, Kenny Anderson. And introducing the head coaches for Minnesota in his 4th season with the Golden Gophers, Clem Haskins. And for Georgia Tech in his 9th season with the Yellow Jackets, Bobby Cremens.
Yellow Jackets and Gophers ready to do battle here in New Orleans. We'll be back with the opening tip right after this. And Duke, today's officials, Jerry Donaghy, Sam Croft, Dave Libby. It'll be Willie Burton jumping at center for the Golden Gophers and Malcolm Mackey for Georgia Tech. Neither of these teams has ever won a regional final.
Well, right here is when you got the butterflies. Until that ball goes up, you don't know quite what you feel. You'll get an elbow or get down there and bump around, and you realize you're in the game, and it's time to suit up and go.
Georgia Tech with the basketball in white.
Minnesota's coming out right at the top, playing tough man-to-man defense. Coffee on Scott will be a good matchup.
Anderson back to Scott for a 3. Rebound, Oliver, and Oliver fouled on his way up. Foul is on Kevin Lynch.
Well, one of the ways I would suspect Georgia Tech is going to try to attack Minnesota is to try to get some offensive rebound baskets, some putbacks. Kevin Lynch has got a good lockup with Brian Oliver. Oliver struggled. Lynch, a smart player, able to play good defense on it.
Correction, that foul is on Willie Burton. Brian Oliver did not have the kind of game of which he is capable 2 nights ago as he misses the first, and Anderson then loses it out of bounds. Oliver scored just 11 points against Michigan State, and that's far below par for a guy who comes in averaging over 21 a game.
Georgia Tech testing the ball handling ability of Minnesota. Full court pressure right here.
Down into the corner to Shikanjansky and back out to Lynch and Burton. And now Melvin Newbern will trigger the offense.
This is a matchup they need to take advantage of if they can.
Big rejection by Mackey. Burton follows, has it stripped away by Dennis Scott. Here come the Yellow Jackets. Anderson. And Burton with the rebound.
The matchup I'm talking about is Kenny Anderson is only about 6'2", and he's trying to guard Kevin Lynch, who's about 6'4", and is accustomed to playing inside. So it's a chance to get a bucket, but also Anderson a foul.
Shikanjansky, the short pop and the foul, and he'll go to the line to try for a 3-point play. Mackey's first personal. Jim Shikanjansky, a 6'9" senior out of Rockton, Illinois.
He didn't play that well the other night, Greg, and I know when you talk to Clem, he wants Shikanjansky to be a force inside.
Minnesota with the 2-point lead. And here's Oliver into the lane. And picked off by Richard Coffey, who had a great night against Syracuse the other night. All the way across court, Newbern for 3. Coffey there for the rebound. He misses it. Newbern up high, loose ball, and saved before it went out of bounds. Newbern will put it up again.
Oh, you can't give anybody that many opportunities. Georgia Tech just standing around. Minnesota coming up with the ball, couldn't get it down.
3-1 Gophers. McNeil putting the ball on the floor inside and now goes back on top. Anderson was the quick starter for Georgia Tech Friday night.
There's a little jitters right here. Guys not holding on to the ball. When you see them doing that missing wide open shots they normally make. Just a little early jitters.
Oliver's drive. Looks like it went off the side of the backboard. And the officials say out of bounds to Georgia Tech.
I was hoping somebody blocked it because, boy, he threw that to the side of the backboard.
Good pass underneath, and Scott lost the handle.
Melvin Newberger's got the task of trying to guard Kenny Anderson. That's a good choice there. Newberger, good athlete, maybe able to slow him up, slow Anderson up.
What a move inside by Dennis Scott for the first field goal of the afternoon for Georgia Tech. And we're tied at 3. to Willie Burton down low, working on Scott. And again, Scott strips the ball, but the follow-up is good, and we've got a player down. That looks like Malcolm Mackey, who may have caught a hand in the face.
Well, it very well could have been that. When Burton is taking the ball to the basket, first of all, they allow him to get it. You see it right there in the middle of your screen. Dennis Scott's allowing him to get it, and what happened was Willie Burton, in his effort to try to get the ball back as Dennis Scott hit Malcolm Mackey in the face, but he seems to be all right.
Meanwhile, Willie Burton is holding his hand down court. And while Mackey is treated on the sideline, number 5, Carl Brown, has come into the lineup for Georgia Tech.
Carl Brown, a good defensive player.
Scott. Nice move to the baseline by Dennis Scott.
Dennis Scott, that's the way he got off against Friday night against Michigan State. You can't play behind him because he's 6'8", and he's very tough down on the block. You need to front him.
Burton open for the three-pointer. Around and out, tap no good. And Brown has it up the sideline. And after a scramble, Scott has the ball. Anderson around Lynch. What a move by Kenny Anderson.
That's where he can get you. If the game gets wide open, Kenny Anderson can really beat you because he's got so much ball handling skills and an ability to get any way he wants on the court.
Tech with a 7-5 lead.
Brown really harassing Newberg.
And the foul is called on Carl Brown. And Brown insisting that Newberg wrapped his arm around him to get past that.
You can see that intensity in Carl Brown's face. And I'm not so sure that he's not right, Carl Brown, about the wrap. But I think there's definitely a push by Carl Brown before that wrap. That's why they put Brown in the game. Be harassing on the defensive end.
Number 40, Walter Bond, is in the lineup for Minnesota now. Batted out of bounds, and the Gophers will inbound again.
Now, Minnesota will play 7-8 people off the bench where Georgia Tech really won't. And what I expect is you run as many people as you can at Kenny Anderson to try to tire him out.
Chicken-Jansky off the pick. And here comes Scott with Oliver. Scott's going to keep it. And he travels. 15:59 to play, first half. Georgia Tech, 2-point lead. We'll be back to New Orleans after this. Duke and Arkansas will meet in one game in Denver, and the winner of this one will play the winner of the one to follow today. University of Nevada, Las Vegas against Loyola Marymount. Get the track shoes out for that one.
Yeah, you see that you need the track shoes out. Loyola Marymount is in better shape than they were the first time that Las Vegas played them.
Bond to Chicken-Jansky. Around and out, tap up no good, another one no good, and Burton helps crash the board.
That is just going to bury Georgia Tech if they don't get on the defensive board.
Oliver back in a hurry and scores. Big power move.
Well, see, that's what they want to do. They'll push it up, but they can't afford to give up the board.
Back comes Newbern, and they lost it out of bounds. No, saved by Walter Bond. Lynch, good bounce pass. Willie Burton on the pass from Lynch. 6 points for Burton, and we have a tie at 9. Kenny Anderson.
Get any way he wants on the court, Greg. I'm telling you, as good as anybody I've ever seen at the point guard spot, getting to where he needs to get.
After a cold start, the Yellow Jackets have now hit their last 5 shots, and they have a 2-point lead.
Georgia Tech has come out now and gone into their 2-1-2, 2-3 zone.
Chicken-Jansky finds the hole in the middle, and it falls.
The last place you should get it is in the middle with a 2-1-2.
Scott, three-pointer. And Walter Bond has the rebound for Minnesota. Bud Haskins says the Gophers have to own the boards today.
And whether they're really getting it is on the offensive board. And I'm not sure that's something that Kim expected.
McNeil made Chicken-Jansky adjust his shot. Here comes Anderson.
Got to get back.
A freshman with the poise of a senior.
You know, you and I were talking about this. Kenny Anderson reminds me of Nate Tiny Archibald, who played at Texas El Paso, UTEP, was Texas Western then. Quick, gets where he wants to go, can score as well as pass.
Those aren't bad credentials to have. Kevin Lynch, three-pointer. And back come the Jack Jackets in a hurry. Oliver around and out. That last time out, it would appear both teams have been instructed to push it and push it hard.
Yeah, it was. Georgia Tech really wants to push it up, and Minnesota's taking advantage of the fact that Georgia Tech will run on the offensive end and has struggled getting back defensively.
Shikanjansky with another bucket, and Anderson inside, tied up by Shikanjansky. And possession arrow favoring Minnesota. Into the lineup for the Gophers, number 33, Richard Coffey, and number 15, Connell Lewis. And now number 55, Bob Martin, the 7-foot sophomore, will also enter the game.
Martin had a big game. Shikanjansky started off well, but Martin had a big game against the other night. But what I see that Clem is going to do is he's going to run all these people into the game because he sees it's going to be an up-and-down contest. And I'd say it favors him in the fact that he's got a deeper ball club.
Witness the fact that both Scott and Anderson played all 45 minutes Friday night. Connell Lewis with a good fake. Scott for Anderson. 8 points for Kenny Anderson. And back come the Gophers. Lynch on the drive, and he's fouled by McNeil. Right now, Nevada, Las Vegas, and Loyola Marymount would be hard-pressed to match this.
I was going to say that. This is as good an athlete as Clem Haskins has on his team and Kevin Lynch. You know, when you talk to the coaching staff, they said that Kevin Lynch has got to play big for him. He's got to score. You saw him shoot the three-pointer. He can take it to the basket, and he had a big half on Friday night. He needs to continue that.
And it was the second half, too. He had a 2-point first half and came out blazing with 16 in the second half to help beat Syracuse. There's the 4-year coach, Clem Haskins. Lynch hits them both, and Melvin Newbern checks back into the lineup for Minnesota.
Well, yeah, I was going to say Melvin Newberg just tell his man to come out. They took Kevin Lynch out of the game. Newberg is in it. They're going to try a little full court man-to-man pressure. That's what I would do. I'd try to make Kenny Anderson dribble the ball as much as I can, as far away from the basket to try to wear him out.
Connell Lewis is on Anderson now, who just broke free for a shot and it didn't fall. Newbern, good change of direction.
Folks, if you haven't seen Melvin Newberg before, he can do those kinds of things, especially in the fast break. Good open court play.
Minnesota with its biggest lead now, 20-15, 12-15 to play first half. Carl Brown open for the three. And Lewis has the rebound.
Stop him. Kenny Anderson didn't get back. And all of a sudden, Connell Lewis was at the basket, and nobody from Georgia Tech stopped the ball. You must stop the ball in the fast break situation.
And Lewis all over Kenny Anderson, and the backcourt is charged with the foul. There's a timeout on the court with 11:52 to play in the first half. Minnesota leads at 22-15.
Players are running here, but this is the only player with his head back. Georgia Tech is just pushing the ball down the sideline right now, and Minnesota's got to find out where the people are. So right here, you just look right up, and Kenny Anderson just throws the ball back because he knows on the sideline there's not a Minnesota player there. You see it finished off by Brian Oliver. You've got to keep your head on the swivel when you're going back on the defensive end.
Georgia Tech inbounding the ball, and Connell Lewis getting big pressure underneath. See, the Gophers have been on a tear over the last 3.5 minutes. Connell Lewis now being warned. Clem Haskins says of Lewis, opposing guards don't phase our guards after they practiced against Connell.
There's some players you want on a team because they can give you something in the game. Connell can do that, but what he really does is harass both Lynch and Newberg all day in practice. So they're used to pressure because Connell Lewis is a valuable player on the team.
Well, Kenny Anderson is getting his first rest of the day. Oliver open. Mackey with the rebound, and Carl Brown will start it over. And Dennis Scott will put up a major league three-point from there. 7 for Dennis Scott. who set an ACC record for three-pointers in a season this year with 121 of them. Newbern in the lane. And was lucky to get the ball back.
He really was. He got the good head and shoulders fake, had the shot, and missed it.
Scott, another three-pointer. And Scott will go to the baseline off the glass too hard, and that's a travel. A couple of Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets fighting for the basketball.
See, I'll imagine you'll see Kenny Anderson get back in the game because he is the one player that gets Dennis Scott shots in the floor of the offense, because Dennis' second shot was just something he threw up there. That's why he missed the whole thing.
Anderson back in to replace Carl Brown. Under 11 minutes to play in the first half. Greg Gumbel, Quinn Buckner at the Louisiana Superdome. 24-18. Minnesota on top and with the basketball.
Georgia Tech back in man-to-man.
Newbern inside. Nice move. Didn't get the roll or the bounce. And Mackey has the rebound. Oliver, good look inside from Mackey, but he's tied up. And the foul is going to be called. Just about 10 and a half to play. If you're just joining us, welcome to the Superdome in New Orleans. The winner here between Minnesota and Georgia Tech moves on to Denver. Join the Final Four. And right now, Minnesota leads at 24-18. It has been Minnesota that has been taking advantage of the up-tempo pressure thus far.
And they also, Greg, have been getting some good defensive effort. But more importantly, they've gotten some offensive rebound baskets, some putbacks.
Richard Coffey with the foul. That's his first.
Now the Golden Gophers, number 33, Richard Coffey. That's his first personal 14.
And back into the game is Willie Burton from Minnesota. He'll replace Walter Bond.
At the line for the Yellow Jackets, shooting two.
Here's Brian Oliver. Had a great ACC tournament. Finished as the MVP with 70 points and 15 rebounds and 7 assists.
Brian Oliver is one of those kids that originally Brian lived in Chicago, and he moved out of Chicago to go to Georgia, and he probably ended up somewhere in the Midwest, but I'm sure Bobby Crimmins is just tickled of having him down at Georgia Tech.
Burton called for the travel. Burton only a 12-point performance against Syracuse here Friday night.
And I've got to wonder, because as I was watching taking that move, Greg, is he trying a little bit too hard? Because he's had some shots inside that he's fumbled getting the ball in as well.
There's an early key. That's the first Minnesota turnover. Scott open. And the rebound off to number 15, Darryl Barnes, who is in the game, and the turnover from Georgia Tech. Burton down to Shikonjansky, who doesn't take long to put it up.
Georgia Tech will play behind you. That's why Willie Burton gets the ball in the paint, and Shikonjansky, they've got to start getting up front.
Nice pass from Kenny Anderson to Brian Oliver. Roommate to roommate. Minnesota by 5. Burton.
Same thing. They were not Georgia Tech for some reason. They're not front.
Burton has 8. Dennis Scott looking for Mackey underneath. Ball gets away. The Gophers have it. And lost it. Dennis Scott is fouled as he went to the hoop, and that'll be on Kevin Lynch. That is the 3rd time already in this game that Dennis Scott has stripped the ball.
Well, Dennis has got very quick hands, and I thought Willie Burton got a little bit of impatient here. You see Scott with the ball right here, and then he goes between 2 defenders, and then Kevin Lynch reaches in there. The official felt he got some hand, made the call.
Dennis Scott shoots 79% from the line. Substitution into the game for Georgia Tech is Johnny McNeil.
Johnny McNeil replacing number 32, Malcolm Mackey.
Getting a lot of bodies in here, going up and down the court, especially for people like Mackey and McNeil and Barnes. That wears the big men out.
Hit them both. He now has 9 points, and it's 28-23 Minnesota as we approach the 9-minute mark. top of the key, Shikenjansky. The Gophers are really clicking and making the most of their shots.
Yeah, you're right. That was just good patience. They had run the play twice to Willie Burton's side and then ran it off the backside to come back to Shikenjansky for the open jump shot.
Shikenjansky averages 9. He already has 11. Scott on his way to the hoop. Throws it up. Foul will be called out front. I want to remind you that following our action here in New Orleans, we'll take you out to Oakland. Brent Musburger, Billy Packer standing by to bring you the West Regional Final between the Lions of Loyola Marymount and the Runnin' Rebels of UNLV. Guess we'll call them the Runnin' Lions, too.
There will be some running in that game. Jerry Tarkanian said his club will run. And if he runs with Loyola Marymount, if Loyola's making those shots, it's going to be a long afternoon for the Rebels.
I think Brent and Billy have done some training for this one. Dennis Scott has his first free throw bounce off the front. Points for Scott. 6-point Gophers lead. Newbern to the baseline, up and over the rim, and the foul is called. Newbern is deceptively quick.
Melvin Newbern is a nice player, and by that I mean he'll surprise people. And I've said he reminds me of Ray Williams. He'll lull you to sleep, go left, go right, get the ball up behind his head. That time the defense just fell asleep on him, and he took it to the baseline. Strong got the foul.
Had a strong 20-point game in the victory over Syracuse.
See, Johnny McNeil with his second personal becomes something significant here if he gets the third one, obviously, because Georgia Tech doesn't have as many big bodies that they can keep running in there, and it almost got them in trouble Friday night. So they've got to be concerned about the inside players getting in foul trouble.
Newbern missed them both. Here's Anderson.
Lighten up, you two guys! Lighten up!
Now Carl Brown will look for Anderson again. Here's Scott. They're going to double him. Backed his way in, and that's a charge.
They were going to try to double him, and Dennis Scott heard it, and because Richard Coffey hollered, now, and in his anxiousness, Dennis Scott lost his balance and ran into Richard Coffey.
Sixth turnover for Georgia Tech. And right now, you'd have to say things are going the way of the Gophers.
They've had the tempo they like, Wade. They run smartly, if you will. They'll run only when they have advantage. They won't try to force it up, where Georgia Tech will at times just try to force the action up.
Burton for three. Oliver has it. Here come the Jackets. Anderson around his man and nails it. 10 points for Kenny Anderson. Georgia Tech within 4. You see a very active Bobby Cremens on the sideline.
Boy, is he ever active.
Bond tried to get it down low, tapped away. Brown comes up with it.
Well, he got that activity over to his players, and that's what he was really saying. Guys, you need to get more activity in the zone defense.
McNeil kicks it back outside. Scott. Well, he can hit a shot from anywhere.
Quick release, too.
Minnesota's lead down to 2. And the Georgia Tech fans have come alive here in New Orleans. Newbern to the baseline.
I'm telling you.
Anderson back in a hurry and lost control. And Newbern will push it back 1-on-3. And batted out of bounds by Anderson. 6.5 minutes of play. Breakneck pace. We'll take a pause and come back to New Orleans in a moment. Reaches its grand finale in Denver. Begins at 5 Eastern time with a Final Four preview, followed at 5:30 by the national semis. You know, one of the two matchups is Duke and Arkansas, and the winner here meets the winner of the game to follow between Nevada, Las Vegas, and Loyola Marymount. That's coming up Saturday here on CBS. 6.5 to play. First half, Minnesota leading it by 4. Greg Gumbel along with Quinn Buckner in perhaps a faster-paced game than we expected, Quinn.
Well, in the fact that these teams scored about 80 points a game, I'm not sure that it really is. But what we didn't anticipate as much as Minnesota is usually more of a, they take advantage of breaks, but they don't push it. And they have pushed it once or twice more often than I thought they would.
Connell Lewis back in the game for Minnesota.
They're playing this 1-2-2 zone, and inside they can get it to Shikanjansky anytime they want to. And outside with Willie Burton, they got a 3-point threat. So right now they got it going pretty well inside.
Shikanjansky with 13. The Gophers by 6. Brown snakes his way inside and missed the layup. Rebounded by Coffey. Burton finds himself open.
The zone lost him. I don't know how you lose a Willie Burton. He was standing on the right side of the court. He came back to the left, and nobody from Georgia Tech ever looked at him.
Burton has 11 with that 3. It's 37-28, and now the Gophers enjoying their biggest lead, but back comes Anderson on the baseline. Coming up on 5 minutes to play, first half.
You'll see Minnesota be patient because they figured out they can get good shots. They've gotten them inside, as well as we saw Willie Burton just knock one down outside, so they just need to be patient.
Burton. Good move to the basket, rolls around and out, and Coffey with the follow. Richard Coffey's first bucket gives Minnesota the 9-point lead.
Got a 5-second call.
Take a look at Kenny Anderson, and we keep talking about how this young man is quick, Quinn. You maybe don't realize it until you have to try and defend him.
Well, this is after behind-the-back pass, and he gets on the defense so quick. Shikanjansky can't cut him off, and he goes in the trees with the big people still able to get it down. I mean, he does. He gets at you so quickly that you don't have a chance to react. He puts you on your heels.
Second time down court after that. He's called for the 5-second call, and here's Minnesota. Bond. Again, Minnesota tough on the offensive board.
And that was 2 against 5. I mean, Georgia Tech is just not blocking out.
Burton 3. And the Gophers are on fire. 14 for Burton, 12-point lead for the Gophers. Oliver off the baseline, and the follow-up by Carl Brown. Brown sneaking inside from the backside.
That time Minnesota got a little bit of its own medicine. They didn't block out and got the shot taken on them.
Here's Burton into the lane. Willie Burton with 16 points now, and again, back down court in a hurry. The block by Burton won't count. That'll call it a goaltend. 3:27 to play. First half, we'll take a break with the Golden Gophers looking golden at this end of the court.
Well, on the offensive end of the court, Greg, what they've done, Willie Burton as well as Richard Coffey, is they've gotten some putbacks. They got 31 points from the front court, and Tech only got 14. All of it's by Scott. So Georgia Tech needs to get some more help, particularly from Brian Oliver.
10 offensive rebounds for the Gophers. And that's a charging call on Walter Bond. Carl Brown working hard on defense. And goes to the sideline limping.
Yeah, but I guarantee you he'll be back in the game. We watched him on Friday night go down 3 times, I mean hard, and get right back up and play. So I guarantee you he'll stay in the game if at all possible.
Well, he's never leaving. 10-point Minnesota lead.
Change the defense here. You've got a 1-2-2. They play a little bit of I call it the amoeba defense, kind of a matchup, but they play like a 1-2-2 zone.
Scott nails another 3-pointer.
That's the man you have to be concerned about, 3-point shooter.
That's 17 for Dennis Scott. Inside, Newburn, no, loose ball, here comes Tech. Up ahead for Oliver. To Scott for three. And that'll be a foul on Mackey. I want to remind you, at the conclusion of every CBS Sports NCAA tournament broadcast, we select the Chevrolet most valuable player from each team. Chevrolet donates a $1,000 scholarship to the General Scholarship Fund of each school to further assist qualified students in all chosen academic fields. Foul was on Dennis Scott at the other end of the court. That's his second. And Jim Chicken-Jansky back into the lineup for Minnesota.
Clem Haskins looked to try to get some more inside play because Georgia Tech went into a man-to-man, and that means Chicken-Jansky is going to be guarded by a guard most likely. Right now, Brian Oliver's got it.
A lob for Newbern, and Newbern around Carl Brown doesn't go. Follow up Coffee.
Georgia Tech is standing and watching. They're not blocking out at all.
2:10 to play, first half. Here's Anderson to the baseline. Throws it up and draws the foul. And he was nailed.
Here's an example right here. Melvin Newberg takes the shot, and you see that Georgia Tech's player are standing outside. You see three of them out here. Richard Coffey, with a nose for the ball, will come up with it 9 times out of 10 because that's what Richard Coffey's on the floor to do, rebound primarily.
Mario Green, number 5, into the lineup for Minnesota. 6'2 junior from Freeport, Bahamas.
He comes in, does Mario. Give a break to Melvin Newbern. Having to guard Kenny Anderson is enough for 2 people. So they're going to give him a break.
$14 points for Anderson. 46-39 with 2 minutes to play.
Georgia Tech has tightened up their defense a little bit, Greg. They're starting to be a little more aggressive out on the front.
Bond to the baseline, missed everything. 2-on-1, and now Burton joins the fray. Anderson, change of pace. Oh, what a shot. And Mario Green called for the foul, and he doesn't think he's guilty.
Well, if you let Kenny Anderson get into an open court game, you're at his mercy because he can stop on the dime as he did that time and then he can take off. I'm sure Clem Haskins would have told his team, if you can come out and pick him up early and make him make a decision, it helps everybody getting back to protect.
Three-point play by Anderson. Stay tuned. Coming up at halftime, road to the Final Four. And the Tech fans making some noise now as Minnesota's lead is down to 4. Burton. Three-pointer puts it back to 7.
I don't think they believe Woody Burton can shoot.
Burton has 19. Oliver blocked by Burton, and he brings it back out front. That's an offensive foul on Brown.
Player control foul on the Yellow Jackets, number 5, Carl Brown. That's his second personal. Back in for the Golden Gophers, number 20, Melvin Newbern.
Clem Haskins, after 6 years at Western Kentucky, now in his 4th season as head coach of the Golden Gophers. Of course, what a player he was at Western Kentucky.
And not to mention 9 years in the NBA. Clem Haskins, Clem the Gym, they used to call him.
Baseline, losing the handle was Newbern, and here comes Anderson. Foul by Burton, and Anderson will make another appearance at the free throw line.
You know, Fabius Crimmins' crew is doing a good job pushing the ball up the court, but at the last 2 times I've seen the fast break situation, there hasn't been much defensive transition on the part of Minnesota. They've got to get the guards back because Kenny Anderson is just a handful.
Jim Nance, Mike Francesa will be bringing you the complete look at the Final Four picture from our studio in New York, and another 53 seconds coming up at halftime.
1 shot, guys, 1.
Mike Francesa probably has another one of those neat ties today, don't you think?
Mike Francesa is doing all right with his ties. I'll give him credit.
Anderson now 5 out of 5 from the line, 49-44 Minnesota. 31, Rob Metcalf in for the Gophers. Well, he has the ball.
Yeah, Metcalf would come in. He was originally going to Virginia and decided to come back closer to home. He's from the Wisconsin Rapids, Wisconsin.
25 on the shot clock, 10-second difference between it and the game clock. And that's a 5-second violation by the Gophers, and that could be a mistake here.
Yeah, you don't want to lose the ball. You know, at this time, you've got the clock in your favor, and that's usually just a mental lapse. It's good defense, but that's a mental lapse. You see what Dennis Scott and Kenny Anderson means to the team. 36 out of 44 points. They've been very active.
And Georgia Tech now looking for some momentum to go into the locker room. Let's see what Kenny Anderson and Bobby Cremins have in mind here. And the steal and out of bounds. Newbern took advantage of when Anderson turned around to look at Bobby Cremins.
I'm laughing. I like that. In my old time days, that's just what I'd wait for the coach to tell him what to do and go for the ball.
That's time remaining in the half on the lower right of your screen.
They're going to go a two-man game right here and try to get Kenny Anderson and Dennis Scott involved.
Long three-pointer, he nails it. 2 seconds. The long throw to the other end is overthrown, and that'll do it for not a bad half of basketball here in New Orleans. That's the end of the first half with the score: Minnesota 49, Georgia Tech 47. And CBS Sports coverage of the NCAA basketball championship continues after this message.
Now the Golden Gophers, number 33.
Next 2 on Coffee.
I would be surprised to see Georgia Tech try to get Kenny Anderson the ball somewhat secondarily. By that I mean he may not handle it as much, because now he gets it off the pass with a pass, dribble, or shoot situation, as opposed to always dribbling the basketball.
Does that mean create less?
No, by no means does. It gives him an extra option, because now he not only can pass and shoot, but he can dribble at the same time. You know what I mean? You're a triple threat now. You go from passing and shoot to dribble instead of just always dribbling and shooting.
He has tied the game for Georgia Tech. 49 apiece.
Man-to-man defense.
Shikanjansky, who had 13 in an excellent first half. And now Lynch working on Anderson. Throws up an out-of-control shot that hit nothing, and here comes Georgia Tech with a chance to take the lead. McNeil, nice move down the lane.
Same thing, the transition, you don't get back. McNeil will beat you, but Anderson can get it to anybody.
And Georgia Tech with the lead at 51-49. Newbern working on Oliver. Blocked partially by Mackey. Anderson ahead, and Mackey almost had control. Here comes Newbern. 3-on-2. Good change of pace move.
Well, he's got it a lot like Kenny Anderson. He'll set you up with a head fake off the dribble and just keep going.
Winner gets a ticket to Denver. Dennis Scott off the pick. Too long. Newbern has it. Burton down low. Shikanjansky. Too much. And on the follow, Coffee is fouled, and he'll go to the line. Let's have a look at Melvin Newbern in action.
Well, he's coming right at you. Now watch him act as though he's going to pull up for the shot. And then you see McNeil come at him, and he just changes the speed, goes right to the basket. I mean, those are the kind of things that Melvin Newbern can do, because he could also just pulled up right there and shot the jump shot. So he made the defense commit, then took it to the basket.
Carl Brown into the game as Richard Coffey approaches the free throw line. Here's a guy who's 24 years old. Rather, he's not going to go to the free throw line, not in the bonus yet, so they'll inbound the ball. 24 years of age is Richard Coffey. Spent 3 years in the Army between high school and college.
And is as tough as they come.
Burton, too hard off the glass. Coffey, follow no, tip no. Gophers all over the board, but the loose ball comes out to Anderson. Crossover dribble. And he'll go to the line.
Yeah, He's mad because he missed an easy shot. And got in the paint and right in by the little dotted line, and that's one he'll probably make 9 out of 10 times.
Meanwhile, that's 3 on Richard Coffey, and there's a man that the Gophers can ill afford to lose.
Well, he's pretty much the spirit of the team is Richard Coffey, because he plays so hard. He expects to lead by example. And after going to the service, I would imagine he's gone through much more difficult situations than this.
Mentioned he was in the Army for 3 years. He grew 5 inches in those 3 years in the Army. Up ahead of the defense is Willie Burton, and he strips the ball out of bounds, and it belongs to Minnesota. Kenny Anderson and Carl Brown were in hot pursuit, and one of them had the quick hands and knocked it out of bounds.
Well, I know Bobby Crimmins is glad to see that, because if I'm in the game and my man gets away, I'm the first one to try to get back.
Coffey doing hard work, and the basket doesn't go, but Lynch will go to the free throw line.
Saw the effort of Coffey that got the ball back from Minnesota. He'll go on the floor for it. Just really a tough player.
Foul on the Yellow Jackets, number 13,
Brian Oliver commits his first personal. There's Coffey. And Kevin Lynch will shoot.
The intensity level for both teams seems to have picked up since the halftime, and I would suggest that in the locker room that both Bobby Crimmins and Clem Haskett made it be known, fellas, we got 20 minutes before one of us has to go home.
Kevin Lynch, a 78% free throw shooter, missed the first. Here's the gem. He missed them both. And Burton chases down the loose ball. Tapped out of bounds? No, off of Burton. Been telling you what Minnesota's been doing on the offensive boards. There's proof positive.
Well, they've gotten 3 here at the top of the second half, Greg, but they're not putting them back in. They're a little too anxious. I think you get surprised when you get offensive rebound.
Dennis Scott for 3. 23 for Scott. And 4 3-pointers today. Newburn into the lane. Beautiful shot by Melvin Newburn as the Gophers come right back.
But you don't want to start that against Georgia Tech, taking it off the dribble, because now the rest of Minnesota start to look at you, and Georgia Tech can help out because nobody else is moving on the offensive end.
Oliver guarded by Lynch. Into the paint with a good fake, and he'll shoot 2. Kevin Lynch is the guilty party, and that's 3 on Lynch. Here's Brian Oliver, who this year became the only Georgia Tech player ever to hit 1,500 points, 500 rebounds, and 500 assists in his career, and only the 3rd in ACC history. Duke's Danny Ferry did it, and Duke's Johnny Dawkins did it.
Well, of the Lethal Weapons 3 group, this is the player that's really probably struggled the most with his foot injury. Brian Oliver hasn't been able to really go up strong, and it seems as though he's come out here in the half and really just, I'm going to put it on the line.
Chikinjansky rejected by Mackey, and the follow by Burton.
Basket on the Golden Gophers, number 34, Willie Burton.
Burton now with 21, Newburn with the steal. Newburn. Oh. And Minnesota's back to within 1. Now the Minnesota fans get into the noise. Oliver on the drive. Nice drive, didn't fall. Loose ball, back to Oliver.
Yeah, it could look fine there because he had a quick jump to the ball, and that's what he's been missing, the quick, powerful jump.
Chikinjansky. Oh, what game Chikinjansky is having.
I give Chikinjansky credit, but I have to ask if Malcolm Mackey just stood there with his hands down. I mean, you've got to put a hand up when a guy gets it on the block.
Chikinjansky goes 6'9", Mackey goes 6'10". Here's Dennis Scott.
He's feeling it.
Coffey almost had him tied up. Here's Carl Brown. Plenty of time on the shot clock, 25. And the foul out front, Newburn. And with that, we'll take time on the court here in the Superdome. 14:56 to play, second half. Tech leads it by 1.
Well, we've got coming in here out of timeout. Minnesota has gone out of their man-to-man until a matchup zone. They'll try to keep a man on the ball so nobody's standing shooting wide open jump shots.
Mackey all the way over. Good move by Scott to get open, but he missed the shot. Loose ball. Newbern has it. All the way down court. Tipped by Scott. Willie Burton.
Scott fell asleep. He took the shot and just didn't get back. Almost got his hand on the ball. Good job by Burton to come up with it.
23 for Burton, who hit a career-high 36 in the game against Northern Iowa. And Oliver is fouled by Newbern. There's Melvin Newbern, 6'4" senior out of Toledo, Ohio. That's 3 on Newbern. And Connell Lewis will replace him.
Getting Connell Lewis in the game, you get an adequate substitute, but you lose a lot of firepower with Newberg sitting over there on the bench. He scores, defends well. They're trying to tell Brian Oliver, I watched Bobby Crimmins, to tell Brian Oliver to shoot the ball a little higher. He's shooting a line drive and not giving himself much chance for it to go in.
Tech now 15 for 19. And we're tied at 61. With 14:07 to play here in the game.
With Melvin Newbern out of the game, what they've got to do in Minnesota is Willie Burton needs to get involved, but particularly Kevin Lynch, because he's the most potent offensive threat other than Newbern and Burton.
Whistle in the middle. Foul goes against Georgia Tech. Looks like it's on Malcolm Mackey. It is. That's 2 on Mackey. And at 6'10", 245, and a freshman, he figures to continue to grow and be around Georgia Tech for a while. Burton. Oh, Willie Burton, so aggressive on offense. Pushing down court. Connell Lewis with the steal and a fine pass to Lynch.
What you do get from Connell Lewis is the defensive transition that had been missing when Newbern had been getting the game. Lewis more concerned about defense than Newbern had been.
Lynch, three-pointer. And Minnesota's lead is 5. Scott, long range.
You better get out of here. He felt this in the first half from about the same distance. That is clearly an NBA three-pointer.
26 points for Dennis Scott. 66-64 Gophers. Minnesota back on offense now. They've hit their last 7 shots. Burton, good move down low. Make that 8 straight buckets down the floor for Minnesota.
This is a mismatch that favors Georgia Tech. Walter Bond was guarding Dennis Scott, and Scott wanted the ball, but Bobby Crimmins decided to run the offense to try to swing it back to Dennis Scott.
Anderson, baseline, tried the pass, and Kevin Lynch snaked in, but tapped it out of bounds. Kevin, have a look at Willie Burton down low.
Well, Willie Burton gets the ball here. Now, Dennis Scott tries to get him, but Willie does a good job doing a drop step, which means drop step toward the baseline, and Dennis Scott, being an offensive player, really didn't want to foul, but it was a good move by Burton.
Richard Coffey into the game, and there's Jim Shikenjansky taking a seat on the Minnesota bench.
Here we go.
This is a quicker lineup, but it's much smaller than Minnesota is accustomed to playing with.
Oliver fakes the 3, takes the 2. 13 for Oliver.
Georgia Tech having trouble inside. They're going to probably try to make sure they keep the ball outside, play a little 2-3 zone.
Bond swings it to Lewis for 3. And Lynch on the rebound. Good bounce pass to Coffey, and he hits the deck. We'll take time. 11:44 to play. Second half. Minnesota leading it by 2. Welcome back to the Superdome in New Orleans, everyone. Greg Gumbel along with Quinn Buckner. And Willie Burton and Dennis Scott have really been the show so far.
Well, they really have been the show. You know, the offensive rebounds obviously favoring Minnesota. I think that's one of the things that's kept them in the game. And even though you see Dennis Scott with 26 points, the thing that you have to say is that Kenny Anderson still has pushed the ball up, been able to get it to Scott, so he doesn't have to take the shot off the dribble.
Minnesota has clicked for 14 points off of those 12 Georgia Tech turnovers. Look at Anderson handle the ball in the backcourt.
Boy, he's handling, I mean, it's like an extension of his hand.
Top of the key, Oliver. Missed the three-pointer, and Burton has it. And a whistle, and a technical foul has been called.
Willie Burton turned around to the official. After having grabbed the ball, Dennis Scott reached in. Willie Burton said to the official very loudly, "All call the foul." And the official felt that that was much too much at this time. And I'm sure what Clem Haskins is saying to Willie is, look, this is an emotional game, but you've got to control them. Put your energies into the game. Don't take it out on the official.
This is Dennis Scott. Scott hits them both. We have 11 minutes, 25 seconds to play here in the second half. Greg Gumbel, Quinn Buckner in New Orleans, Southeast Regional Championship. And we're all tied at 68.
Georgia Tech has been able to push the ball up the court with Kenny Anderson doing the job as well as Dennis Scott. But Minnesota has got offensive rebounds. But the point I want to make is that what just happened here is Minnesota missed out on the ball. They had a rebound. The ball's going on the other end, and Willie Burton gets the technical. Georgia Tech gets 2 shots and the ball. Every possession counts. You can't afford to do that in championship play.
Burton with the near steal. Ball comes back to Oliver. Shot comes up short in the lane. And Burton has the rebound. Minnesota with Coffey, Burton, Lynch, Lewis, and Bond on the floor. And Melvin Newbern about ready to check back in.
And I'll tell you why, Greg, as Clem Haskins looked at it, he noticed his team was not in sync. You see, that jump shot is not, you don't need that shot. Willie Burton just took. Willie Burton just takes it. The shot is way too long, and it's just an ill-advised shot. And you see Walter Bond make an effort to try to get it back in. Besides, he wants to visit the cameraman for a while.
Well, the shot did get all net.
Yeah, but the wrong side. That was the outside.
Dennis Scott, being hounded by Burton, works his way in, and he'll go to the line to shoot 2. Foul is on Bond. Dennis Scott on Friday night against Michigan State had just 18 points and 9 rebounds, and those 18 points, a full 10 below his average.
Just 18 points, but he made the big hoop for him in the game. So he's still their #1 scorer. When I asked him about it, I said, "Did you struggle with your shot?" He said, "No, not really. I was able to get the one down the stretch, and I feel that I'm ready to go."
30 points today, I'd say so. 70 to 68, Georgia Tech. Under 10.5 to play. Burton double teamed and kicks it back out to Lynch. Newbern for 3.
You can see it from here. It had that shooter's touch on it. Go up there with a little roll, come back.
15 for Newbern, 71-70, Minnesota in the lead. Oliver finds his way down the lane. Nice move, Brian Oliver.
Number 13, Brian Oliver.
And Tech is back on top, 72-71.
2-3 zone. They'll move it up to a 2-1-2 with Georgia Tech.
Newbern traveled. Found a slippery spot on the floor. And Jim Shikenjansky will back into the lineup for Minnesota as Burton takes a seat on the bench. Burton sits down with 27 points.
Chicken Jansky's playing well on the inside. He's got to pick up some of that play, try to expose McNeil to some fouls.
Scott, three-pointer.
That's the same play they ran at the end of the half.
And McNeil has been called for a foul underneath. The basket will count. And McNeil commits the foul, fighting for the position.
And McNeil gets the foul, but what we saw with Dennis Scott and Kenny Anderson, what they were doing, we're talking about that play, and Dennis Scott is basically telling, I feel it. Anytime you get me the ball, I can put it in the basket.
With the three-pointer, Georgia Tech opens up a 4-point lead. McNeil with 4 personals now takes a seat on the bench. Bond open for a moment. That's all he needed.
Ball movement. If you can get a ball inside the teeth of a zone defense and you kick it out, the defense reacts. Everybody collapses on the ball. It's usually good to get it weak side, as Minnesota did for that jump shot.
Under 9 minutes to play for the game now. Georgia Tech with the ball, leading by 2. Kenny Anderson calling for the ball. Shot comes up short, and Lynch has the rebound. Anderson wanted the ball much sooner than he got it.
Yeah, and you're right, and what that does is it gets you out of your rhythm, and Kenny basically forced the shot.
Bond for 3. That one's short. Hits the rim and goes over the basket. Here comes Anderson.
Out in the middle.
Just amazing to watch him handle the ball.
He just gets anywhere he wants to get, and that's what makes it so amazing, because it puts pressure on the defense. See, they'll run this play, and if you don't guard Dennis Scott, he'll come back and shoot it. That time Kenny took it.
77-73. Anderson has 25. Georgia Tech in their man-to-man. Coffee to the baseline. Lost control, and Brown doesn't get a chance to save it. While he pays a visit to the visitors on the far side, we'll take a timeout.
Did you know?
Over New Orleans, Greg Gumbel, Twin Buckner, 7:33 to play in the game. Georgia Tech leading by 4. And following this game, we'll take you out to the Oakland Coliseum for the West Regional Final between Loyola Marymount and Nevada, Las Vegas.
That's one of those games, Greg, you get everything you want to have in between before the game. Because there's no time to walk out when Nevada, Las Vegas, and LMU meet. The action's going to be much too fast.
Bobby Crimmins engineering Georgia Tech's 3rd appearance in the Final 8. They lost in '85 to Georgetown. They lost in 1960 to eventual national champion Ohio State.
The '85 team might have been his best when he had Sally and Price. That was a good club for him.
Burton back into the lineup. Tap up and in by Shikenjansky. 17 for him. And it's a 2-point game.
1-3-1. This is more of a trapping defense here, and they got Kevin Lynch on the ball, and then they'll flatten it out until like a 3-2, trying to keep people off the ball.
Oliver's shot way short. Here come the Gophers. Newbern ahead. Shikenjansky traveled.
That's Melvin Newbern's fault on that one. Shikenjansky is a player that's about 6'9". You get him the ball so he can take one step after he catches it and go to the basket. That time the pass was too far under the basket.
Anderson into the corner and then back outside again. Oliver's pass inside, stolen by Newbern. Here comes Minnesota again. Kevin Lynch will stop.
Newbern's quickness gets the ball, and Lynch. That's the guard combination we talked about. We've got Dennis Scott down on the side over here, and he seems to be in a little bit of pain.
And we'll stop for a moment just to see how Dennis Scott is doing. He says he's all right.
When you're on a roll like Dennis Scott, you'll find a way to get back in there.
Take a look and see if we can figure out how it happened.
On the right side of your screen, you see he and Shikenjansky get tangled up here. and then he stumbles. It looked like he just twisted his ankle a little bit, but he's still in the game, so he's obviously all right. The question is about the 45-second clock, how much time had gone off, because the ball was clearly in bounds.
And the shot clock now being run down to just 43. Tied at 77. Minnesota shooting 54% from the floor. Georgia Tech 52.
This 1-3-1 is a good defense when you want to keep the ball and trap at it out of it occasionally. Like this Kenny Anderson's hard to trap, but this one place where you can keep an eye on Dennis Scott.
Scott. Oh, what a shot.
Think the foot's all right?
6 3-pointers for Scott today. 36 points for the game. Lynch trying to dish it off. Tipped out of bounds. Dennis Scott telling Brian Oliver that he made a great defensive play.
Team defense-wise, it really was. Get over and help out. Otherwise, Chicken-Jansky's got a basket.
Newburn into the lane. That's a tough shot. Coffey has the loose basketball. Burton for Chicken-Jansky.
Good team basketball. Burton is the guy who can score, pass. Good team basketball. Got to have that now.
Chicken-Jansky now has a season-high 19 points. Scott fakes the 3, fakes the 2. Rebound, Mackey. And the foul looks to be on Richard Coffey, who is about to plead his case and say, I was out of the play.
In vain.
And that's 4 on Coffey.
At the line, 32,
I think he agrees with that call, Greg.
Mackey misses the first. Johnny McNeil off the Georgia Tech bench to replace Carl Brown.
Got a bigger lineup in here now. Carl Brown was doing a good job putting the perimeter pressure on, but what Bobby Crimmins wants to make sure it doesn't happen on the other end, offensive end, that there are not any offensive rebounds from Minnesota.
Mackey misses them both. He is still scoreless for the day, although he has 6 rebounds, and Georgia Tech's lead remains at 1 with 5:20 to play. Burton to the baseline, found an opening. Went to the left hand and put Minnesota up 1.
You know, as much as both teams started to run early, what you're seeing now is this gets to be the time of the game where people tend to be a little more conservative, slow it down, try to get into your half-court offense.
Anderson had to adjust his shot, put it too hard off the board, but Scott was there. Dennis Scott with 38. Burton for 3. Hit the front of the rim. Here comes Anderson. 4 on 3 for Georgia Tech, and he was fouled. And that is Newburn, and that's 4 on Newburn.
Well, Melvin Newburn's trying to tell Willie that's a shot we don't need. It's basically why he called out Willie Burton.
Clem Haskins not at all pleased with it either at his end.
Well, you take a shot that quickly. He's saying, yeah, make the ball turn around. You need to because you've got to move the defense. You take it that quickly, your teammates don't have a chance to get an offensive rebound.
Kenny Anderson. 7 out of 7 from the line. 7 out of 8. Under 4.5 to play. Minnesota looking for the lead.
This is what it's all about.
Newburn. That's a 2-pointer.
I said this is what it's all about. This is what they talk about with the dream. This is when you dream now. You're under 5 minutes. Nip and tuck going down the stretch. I make the great play.
4:01 to play. Second half, Minnesota by 1. Dug away.
I love you, little Jenny Catherine.
82, and we have seen yet another outstanding performance by Kenny Anderson of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. I guess the question remains, can he play the game, Quinn?
He answers the question every time, and if you notice, with the exception of this game right now, still playing, his numbers have increased. So when it gets on the line, Kenny Anderson stands up to play.
Dennis Scott has had a huge game today for Georgia Tech with 38 points. Brian Oliver fouled as he took it to the hoop, and he'll go to the line.
That's one way to get a score like Oliver, if you will, off the snide. He's really struggled with his offense, and Clemens told him, all right, what you need to do, Brian, is you get a chance, take the ball to the basket, score from the foul line if you have to.
Foul number 2 on Shikenjansky. And Oliver is 5 of 8 from the line today, 6 out of 9 now. Coffey and Newbern, 4 fouls apiece for Minnesota, 4 for McNeil of Georgia Tech. And Georgia Tech takes the lead. 84-83 as we approach 3:45 to play for the game.
Carl Brown is like your worst nightmare on defense. He's all over.
There's a steal by Scott. And throws it up, and Burton dives and fouls him. And let's check Dennis Scott to see if he's okay. He looks to be. And Brian Oliver telling him, great steal.
This is the pressure on the ball. Carl Brown made this happen with his pressure on the ball. Dennis Scott recognizing that pressure, comes out, makes the steal, and Willie Burton, in his effort to try to get the ball back, knocked Dennis Scott down. Scott hit the pillar, but he's up. He's going to shoot his foul shot. But it was a good defensive effort by Carl Brown.
And a pretty good move for a guy who goes 6'8", 230 pounds. Dennis Scott.
You know, he really doesn't look that big. He's thick, so he doesn't look that big, but he's very, very agile. But I tell you what, he's got big-time range. I mean, he's got it from downtown behind the three-point line.
That's a 40-point game for Dennis Scott. And Tech's lead is 3 as we approach 3.5 minutes. And the foul out front goes against Carl Brown. That's 3 on Brown.
Yeah, but more importantly, they're not in the penalty. So, yeah, it's a foul, but they haven't given it up yet, and I think that's the good part about it for Bobby Clemens.
5 team fouls on Georgia Tech. Minnesota has not made a free throw this half. They've only shot 2. Newbern lost the ball. Possession arrow favors the Gophers.
Carl Brown is causing Minnesota to just lose themselves offensively. He's working hard. That time he was in good defensive position. Official made no call, which was the right call, and they almost got a turnover.
Bond has it tapped out of bounds, and it belongs to Minnesota. And now it's ruled the other way, and Clem Haskins is going to go nuts.
Well, the two officials get together like they need to do. They get together and get the right call.
Clem was about to have a gem. Here's Lynch. Puts it up and fouls. So Lynch will go to the line. Kenny Anderson, the guilty party. And Bobby Clemens says, yeah, he traveled.
Well, Bobby's trying to, like a coach, trying to get everything he can out of it.
Lynch with 10 points today and 2 out of 4 from the line. Richard Coffey back into the lineup.
It's the time of the game. You get your players on the court now, and Coffey's been rebounding. You've got to get him out there. Time for Lynch to step forward as well.
86-84. And Clem doing a little cheerleading.
Well, he wants this team to take on pretty much his personality. Clem is a very intense person, and Lynch is one of the guys he used to get on for not showing some intensity.
Lynch chases it down, but then the throwaway. And Scott picks it off. Anderson looking for Scott down low. And Bond all over him. Anderson for three.
Got to get out there. Everybody became so concerned about Scott. They leave Kenny Anderson. They left Kenny Anderson open.
28 for Anderson. 5-point lead for Georgia Tech with 2:45 to play. And a timeout for Minnesota. Yvette Haskins, Clem Haskins' wife, with vested interest in this game. Georgia Tech with its largest lead of the day. 5 points, 2:40 to play in the game.
They've gotten a lot of their lead has come from it. Carl Brown has just put so much defensive pressure on Minnesota that they are just out of rhythm on the offensive end.
Burton, a long three-pointer. And Bond has the ball back, lost it. Burton regains.
But again, they're not in a rhythm.
Burton again, and he nails this one.
I mean, he makes this, but if he doesn't, Clem Haskins is just going to get to him because they're just taking the ball, catching it, and shooting.
32 for Burton, and Minnesota's within 2 as we approach 2 minutes to play. Anderson to the baseline. Around and out. Burton has the rebound. Lynch thought about taking it in, and he'll bring it back out.
They'll try to swing the ball. They'll get it in the hands of Willie Burton as much as they can, but Melvin Newburton is known to go one-on-one in tight situations.
Burton looking for his shot. Lynch to the other side, off the glass, no. Rebound down to Brian Oliver.
It's not desperation time here for Minnesota. All they have to do is stay here and play good defense. They don't need to foul.
2-point game as we approach a minute 20.
Yeah, this is the thing to do. Georgia Tech is going to hold it out. They've got people like Kenny Anderson that can go one-on-one, as well as the man with the ball, Dennis Scott.
Still plenty of time left, 15 seconds on the shot clock. And 1 minute exactly. Oliver down the lane. That is an offensive foul on Brian Oliver. The Tech bench wants the basket to count. It will not.
Will not count. To get the ball as far out as Brian Oliver did, you've got to know somebody's going to come over and step in, take the charge. That time it was Richard Coffey. Oliver should have pulled up and just taken a little shot. He had even enough time to just bring it back out and start the offense again.
Tech with a 2-point lead. Minnesota calls timeout. 54 seconds to play. We'll be back.
Bobby Primer's team has done a good job being aggressive, but what Minnesota has to do is, even with that aggressiveness, if you have to back cut somebody, do that, but don't come down and take quick shots because it may lead to a fast break going the other way. Now here, you want to get the ball in the hands of Willie Burton. He's their leading scorer. You don't want to waste your time trying to get it to anybody else.
You saw how dominant the trio of Scott Anderson and Oliver have been. Only Carl Brown with 2 points and Johnny McNeil with 2 points have done any other scoring outside of that threesome for Georgia Tech. And there's a timeout called as Minnesota has problems inbounding the ball. Seconds remain here in the Superdome in New Orleans. Southeast Regional Championship game, and it's been a dandy from the opening tap. Georgia Tech leading Minnesota 89-87. Greg Gumbel along with Quinn Buckner. We've seen some outstanding performances today. Willie Burton for Minnesota. Dennis Scott, a big scoring game still. Kenny Anderson, the freshman for Georgia Tech, showing that he is going to be a big-time player for a long time.
Well, I think that is definitely the case that Kenny Anderson played well, but Brian Oliver's struggling, still able to get into the scoring. But what we saw was as a rule, Kenny Anderson had the tempo pretty much where he likes to have it. He moved it up when he felt the team was running. They were turning the ball over. He wisely started bringing it back out. Then Dennis Scott got hot. And once you got a player like Scott getting hot, Anderson handling the ball, that gives Georgia Tech a great duo, as well as Oliver getting hot on his side.
I recall seeing one national publication prior to the tournament that said Kenny Anderson is too young to have very much impact.
Well, clearly that's not the case. He reminds me of, when I said Nate Archibald, he reminds me of Nate at about 24 and 25 years old. This young man, obviously only 19 years old, he's got great savvy.
Newburn. The shot clock for Minnesota is at 25. Kevin Lynch to the baseline and is fouled. Oliver, chasing him all the way around the pick, fouled him and will send Lynch to the line to shoot 2.
What Lynch had been having is that for a while Kenny Anderson had been guarding him. By the time he got over there, Brian Oliver got there. But Lynch has become a competitor. He is the one player that when you talk to the coaching staff prior to the game, that they felt had to have a big game for Minnesota to win it.
You saw the numbers there. Should Georgia Tech win this game, they may feel they won it at the line. Lynch is a 78% free throw shooter. He is 3 out of 7 today.
This is the one you practice. You practice this all day when you're a kid. You want to be able to shoot this one. If you miss it, you play good, solid defense. But with Kenny Anderson on the other side, you've got a ball handler that will make you fouling and has been known to make some tough shots.
And to that end, defensively, Connell Lewis has replaced Walter Bond on the floor for Minnesota. One-point game. And full court pressure from the Gophers.
You deny Kenny Anderson the ball.
And the foul is on Lynch. Look for the charging foul from Oliver. And instead, draws the blocking foul.
Foul on the Golden Gophers, number 3, Kevin Lynch. That's his foot.
Let's take another look.
At the line for the
You get yourself in trouble anytime you get in the corner and there's a trap. Now, the official felt there was some contact made, and Kevin Lynch must have initiated that contact for him to make that call.
He was reaching for the ball with the right hand, and here is Brian Oliver, 7 of 10 from the line today, and 17 points. For Georgia Tech, half a minute to play.
You expect your seniors to come through right there. Brian Oliver didn't even flinch, just knocking that one down.
Newburn, off the glass, no. Here's Anderson, fouled in the backcourt.
Foul on the Golden Gophers, number 40, Walter Bond. That's his 3rd personal.
Well, if you're wondering why Clem Haskins didn't take a timeout, first of all, he doesn't have many to spare. He wanted to keep it. The other thing is you like to push the ball up so the defense doesn't get set. With a player like Melvin Newburn, he's got the capabilities of getting in there, making the same shot. He obviously missed it, but that's why the timeout was not taken.
.29 for Kenny Anderson, 8 out of 9 from the free throw line.
And one of the times you can think, well, this is a freshman. I'll put him on the line anytime if you're about to print him.
30, 93-88. Bond, Lynch, cross court, and Burton looks for the 3. And got it for timeout for Minnesota. Minnesota within 2, 7 seconds to play.
Gillette, no?
93-91, Georgia Tech in the lead. Minnesota out of timeouts, and Georgia Tech has the basketball and the possession arrow in its favor. Clem Haskins will want his players to commit a foul here. They will try to keep the ball from Kenny Anderson.
I'd funnel the ball to Carl Brown. He's not a good foul shooter, and what they've done is Georgia Tech ran him out.
Anderson with the ball and the foul by Connell Lewis. And 1 second runs off the clock.
Bobby Crim is looking for everything he can get, trying to get an intentional foul.
Now the Golden Gophers, number 15, Connell Lewis. That's his second personal.
Anderson, a 73% free throw shooter.
Well, obviously Brown is the person to foul, but Kenny Anderson is so quick, it's difficult to keep him from the ball. And what I would probably like to see him done is try to force the ball away from Anderson or just force it to Brown. They ran Brown out, so Anderson was left.
Missed it. No timeouts remaining. They need at least a 2 to tie. Kevin Lynch out of the corner. Georgia Tech on the way to Denver. Tech needed big defense here. Kevin Lynch skirting the defense. A three-pointer would win it here.
Well, the three-pointer would win it, but what he did is he got caught going in that corner. McNeil just made it too difficult for the shot to happen as well as Lynch would like it to.
Bobby Crimmins.
He looks like he's a little bit numb about it. You know, it's like, Now on the other side, his wife is much more emotional.
We're going to Denver.
Going to Denver.
You could say they're happy campers. Dennis Scott just 18 points in 45 minutes Friday night. Comes up with 40 today as Georgia Tech advances to the Final Four. Once again, the final score, Georgia Tech 93, Minnesota 91. And Georgia Tech on the way to Denver. Coming up next, Loyola Marymount and UNLV. Our Chevrolet most valuable players, Willie Burton of Minnesota, Dennis Scott of Georgia Tech. So for Quinn Buckner, I'm Greg Gumbel saying so long from the Southeast Regional in New Orleans. You've been watching CBS Sports coverage of the NCAA Championship. Back to Jim Nantz in New York.
All right, Greg, so we've got a double ACC appearance out in Denver. Duke joins
Buckner, lethal weapon 3, and Coach Bobby Crimmins, who's making his first trip to the Final Four. How's it feel?
It feels good. I got my father's good luck charm right here, Dave. It was a great basketball game. Minnesota's a very physical team, but these guys hung in there. Dennis was shooting Brian with the bad ankle. Kenny gave us the big 3, but Dennis Scott was sensational. Great basketball game. I'm just really proud that we're going forward.
All right, Quinn, how about the lethal weapons over there?
Well, we'll start right here with Kenny Anderson. He came out, had a great game. He shot the ball. I thought your team, you control the tempo. Is that something you wanted to try to do?
Well, we knew Minnesota was very physical and very patient, and they run that offense extremely patient. So we just wanted to come out and play Georgia Tech style of ball, and that's my job, to get the tempo going up, and our fast break is really clicking today.
Congratulations. I want to holler here at Dennis Scott. Dennis, you had 40, you had 18 the other night, but you got it going here today.
First of all, I thank God, thank my mom, my brother. I see y'all in Denver. But I think tonight we just hung tough and we played together down the stretch, and we believe in each other. And Coach has confidence in us, and it feels good to keep playing hard.
Good. You couldn't get your jumper going, but you seemed to take the ball to the basket, Brian. It looked pretty good.
Well, you know, my ankle being aggravated, you know, this tournament, I've been limiting some of the things I've been able to do. And I was just trying to go and help these guys here. I was able to get some good moves to the hole, and fortunate enough we were able to do it.
This threesome is definitely lethal. Got it back to you, Greg.
All right, Quinn. Congratulations, gentlemen. Have fun in Denver. That's it for now from the Louisiana Superdome, where Georgia Tech has won it 93-91. Let's take it back to New York once again to Jim Nantz. Jim?
All right, a great scene in New Orleans. So Lethal Weapon 3 outduels Walter Bond and company from Minnesota, and they're headed to Denver. We're going to come back and speak with Nolan Richardson.